Welcome back, everybody, to the Play-by-Play podcast. My name is Brian. I'm with Cody and Alex, also known as Red. Fortunately, missing AJ today. Had to work. All right, boys, we have a new college football champion. What seemed like a blowout at the beginning turned out to be a really good game to cap off probably, at least certainly in my lifetime, the best college football season we've had in quite some time. I'm curious, first off, to see what you guys think about the game. Think about how Notre Dame looked, how Ohio State looked, and kind of what the future of those two programs are after a really good win for Ohio State, a much-needed win for Ryan Day, or he was probably
hot seat.
Yeah. And then maybe a building year for Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. What about you, Cub?
I'll go first. Well, I always start off by saying I'm the casual college football fan. I'm very limited, basic understanding, and I chose Notre Dame to win this game. And I chose them on the power of friendship. And let's be honest, the power of friendship can only get you so far when there are 20 NFL players on the other side. So all respect to Ohio State. That team, just a juggernaut. But Notre Dame in the second half did kind of hold their own. They made it a fight. This is good for Marcus Freeman. This is a good building block. And now you're going to have players who are going to see, hey, good coach, good team. I want to go there. Another thing that's been talked about very heavily on Notre Dame is all the money they got for making it this far doesn't have to get shared with any other team because they're no conference. That is huge for them. Now, for Ohio State, yes, massive, massive win for them. Now let's see if they can beat Michigan.
Well, that's the conversation with a lot of people still in Ohio.
Yeah,
I would assume it's like, oh yeah, Ryan Day won, but
yeah, let's
I
see.
guarantee you have people in Ohio who are like, yay, we won the national championship, but guess what? You still fucking lost to Michigan.
Yeah, still lost to Michigan.
Say you beat 5 top 10 teams.
Boom, in a row, yeah.
But guess what? What happened? You lost to fucking Michigan.
Unranked fucking Michigan.
Yeah, so just at the end of the day, Ohio State, way more talent, way better team. Like it feels like they have 11 NFL players on offense, 11 NFL players on defense. I don't know how it'll shake out, but when you have 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers who are 100% getting drafted, that was just way too much firepower. It's kind of reminiscent of like LSU's offense. Not saying they're as good as LSU, but LSU's offense, when they won it all with Joe Burrow, it was every single player on this team's going to the league.
Well, and their 2 wide receivers were the 2 best receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. So, not saying they're on that level, but it has the same every single player on here you're going to be watching on Sundays eventually.
Oh, definitely. For sure.
So, I don't know. What do you think, Red?
Yeah, I mean, in a game that initially looked like it was going to run away from Notre Dame, it shows that, with good coaching, those guys bought in like we talked about last week. They made it a game in the fourth quarter in the second half. So, for Notre Dame fans, it's obviously... it's exciting to see. Obviously, you would like to win, but when you're facing that juggernaut of Ohio State, it's going to be tough. It's always going to be tough. I think Ryan Day did lay some of the haters to rest. Obviously, beating Michigan is probably most important, if not second most important, for Ohio State fans in that school and that program. It just looks like anytime you think, oh, Ohio State's going to have a down year, Ohio State's going to, fumble in the playoffs. They just show what the talent can do. And I think you have, like you said, 3 or 4 guys that are going to get drafted in the first round, maybe top 20.
Yeah.
So
at least a few of them.
Yeah, no, it's going to.
And then one guy that's a freshman that's going to go top 5.
Yeah, you got to wait a few years.
He's got to play 2 more years.
I mean, that team is super exciting to watch, and it showed. I mean, it showed all year. They had that stumble against Oregon, late in the game, but it showed all year that they're probably the best team, even if they did lose a couple during the regular season. Just really quick, I want to touch on Marcus Freeman. Obviously, he's been getting a lot of kind of talk in regards to, is he going to take an NFL job? Is he going to stay? I think he stays. I think, obviously, I think he's going to be like a Jim Harbaugh, right? Jim Harbaugh didn't want to leave until he won a national championship, right? He won that, and then he took his NFL job. So I think I could see the same thing lining up for Marcus Freeman.
I can actually see Marcus Freeman being just a perennial Notre Dame coach. We're looking at, obviously there's a lot of, obviously Notre Dame is the pinnacle for Catholic schools in the United States. And there's a lot of good Catholic football schools. And I would assume, certainly back in the day when Notre Dame was good, every single Catholic football player wanted to go play for Notre Dame. It kind of fell off when Notre Dame wasn't so great for quite some time. And if Marcus Freeman's there and they're good, you're going to probably see that come back where they're going to get some insane recruiting classes because it is Notre Dame and you do have a top 3, top 2 head coach in college football and a lot of money there. There's a lot of money there. I will say I did want to bounce back to Ohio State real quick because one of the reasons when we did a little bracket is I had Oregon beating Ohio State again. And the reason I had Oregon beating Ohio State again was because I wasn't too sure about Will Howard.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that I don't know how everything is going to go in the NFL for obviously almost any NFL or college quarterback going to the NFL. But Will Howard's projected to still go in like the 5th round.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what his draft stock does. But when the lights were brightest, Will Howard was really good. Now, you can make the argument that obviously he has
weapons,
everything, right? But you still got to be able to throw the ball. And he made some Sunday throws. I'm not saying, he's going to go from the 5th to the 1st and he's going to be this unbelievable quarterback in the NFL. But I wanted to see what you guys think about if something like a good playoff run, not just for Will Howard, but maybe for somebody else that is like a borderline quarterback, like maybe he'll get drafted, maybe he doesn't. But then he just but then just lights it up in the 4 most important games that he's going to play until he gets to the NFL. What do you think that can do for the draft stock? Do you think you could see somebody almost on the border of maybe not even getting drafted to be like, oh yeah, this guy can go in like 5th, or like maybe someone that's in like the 4th round be like, that guy's first rounder. Just 4 games to define everything. Do you think that can?
Well, that happens. I feel like all the time, and it's kind of a weird example, but the person I always think about is like a Colt McCoy, who's he won every single game in college. And he wasn't doing anything flashy in college. He just was on the best team, won every single game. Or like an AJ McCarron when he was on Alabama. Somebody who's going to win every game. And then they do get drafted because they're winning quarterbacks. And then they get to the NFL and then they do nothing, right? So it's nothing against those quarterbacks. But 100% is going to raise their draft stock. And somebody like Will Howard might have just earned himself a couple extra $1 million because you're right. He could be moving up draft boards a little bit. Does that mean he's going to be a lights out NFL quarterback? Probably not. Most of his big plays on Monday came, I felt like, from running the ball. A big 3rd down, he scrambles out to the right. Or QB designed run. So I don't know how well he's going to translate to the NFL, but 100% you're right. I mean, you're winning in these big games. You're going to get drafted. Some team's going to take a chance on you and see what happens.
Anything can happen. I mean, it looks like almost, I don't want to, the jury's out. We'll get to, the Bears and Ben Johnson and someone like Caleb Williams, but it almost seems like in the draft, believe it or not, a whole lot of people that are evaluating talent don't really know what translates to the NFL, right? Because you're looking at back-to-back years, the first overall. I don't even know, let alone the years past between just these last years. The first overall pick was nowhere near as good as the person that ends up winning Rookie of the Year for the offensive side of the ball. Like maybe they just didn't know the talent that these guys had, or something, but it almost seems like getting a quarterback in the draft is kind of like this. All right, let's close our eyes. Let's see if that guy's good.
You're throwing darts.
Seems like that's what it is, and it makes sense. I mean, it's the hardest position to play in arguably all of sports. But one more thing I noticed, awesome timeline here. Ohio State did pay a lot for their star-studded roster. Now, I think teams like Texas, Georgia were very happy that Ohio State were getting the headlines because they spent a lot more.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, there is a ruling in April to knock the total spending down to $20 million. Revenue share between the entire athletic division.
Mm-hmm.
So some schools are going to give like 90% of the football program, 80, whatever. You're going to have some schools like Duke who are going to give like 90% of their basketball team. I'm curious for like someone like USC, favorite teams USC. How much do you think? How much do you think, percentage-wise, if it were to be 20 million, how much do you think they'd spend on a team or on like their football team compared to like their basketball team or something?
I mean, you have to. And USC's basketball team has been kind of on the rise the last 2 or 3 years too. I think this is a lot, or this would be the same for a lot of the Power 5 schools as well, especially big name schools, right? Ohio State, Alabama, USC. You're giving 90%. Maybe 85% strictly to the football program because that's what sells the most tickets. That's what brings in the most merchandise, sells the most jerseys. and I always bring this up to you guys outside of the pod too. USC's water polo team, elite, legendary. Their women's soccer team just won the national championship last year. The Big Ten championship. People don't talk about that. It's women's soccer. No offense, but you're just not comparable in marketing and money wise to USC football. Even if we only won 6 or 7 games last year, we're still bringing in 10 times, 15x. What these other little programs are bringing
100x.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's being generous. So I think realistically, you're seeing the big schools disperse like 90% to strictly the football team.
definitely. Do you think that's going to have are we going to see some teams fall off almost? Not fall off, but if you're not, I mean, it unfortunately seems like money talks, right?
Yeah.
In the NCAA. You do have some people like Ashton Genty who stayed at Boise State to continue to play for them, but loyalty like that seems to be limited. Could you see some teams, maybe their AD wants to go a different direction? Now, we're not, obviously, like you said, these unbelievable football programs are not going to do that. But Michigan, although they have a huge football program, is also known for producing half of the Olympians we have.
Yeah.
And all that. Are you going to see something like that where Michigan's well, yeah, our football team is going to make a lot of money, but they're going to make a lot of money anyways. Even if we suck, they're going to make a lot of money. Are we only in the Big Ten? Are we only going to be someone that gives the football team 65% and then gives money to everything else?
No, I'm just plain and simple. No, I mean, Red's right. Money talks. Where's the money? Nobody's going to see, as good as that track team is, or all the Olympians come from, cross country. You might sell 1,000, 2,000 tickets to go watch track. Whereas I'm almost positive a Michigan State football game is going to sell 100,000 tickets. So it's just money talks, and it's just how college sports are, and everybody knows it. Football dominates, and if you're Kansas, maybe basketball dominates, right? If you're Duke, maybe basketball dominates. But even in those schools, they're probably making more money off football.
100%.
Yeah, so it's
Maybe not Duke.
But Duke football's been.
They've been
I
decent.
think they had 8 wins last year. So Duke might have a football team and a basketball team.
So it's just where money talks. You're gonna spend money where you make money. That's kind of where it's gonna end up in my eyes.
All right. So what about the playoff format in total? What do you guys think about that? There was a lot of controversy about not reseeding and how the best team, Oregon, how can you have Oregon match up against Ohio State even though they're the best team? That's kind of how it shook out. I'm curious, seed. You guys like the 12-team format? It's probably going to end up inevitably moving to 14. Do you guys like the way it is? What changes would you personally want to make if you were in control of that?
I guess I'll jump ahead. I actually really liked having more playoff games.
It was awesome.
It was a lot of fun. And I think in this era of college football where players are transferring, where players are getting paid to play, it's the perfect way to do it. Because there's no longer recruiting class. You're building up your recruiting class over a bunch of time. It's just straight up professional sports. In professional sports, you want to see playoffs because you want to know your team has a chance if you mess up a game. In college football, we see that happen all the time, and it's going to happen a lot more now that there's, I guess, a little bit more parity in college
There
football.
definitely is.
So
even though the best team still were there at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, the best team's still there at the end, but there's more parity. We saw, holy cow, there was so much controversy about 11-1 teams, whereas that almost never happens, right? So I think the playoffs is perfect. You're right. The seeding could be fixed. I don't know how they fix it. You do want to reward those conference champions. You want to give them an incentive for winning your conference. And so I think a first round bias for them, but then yes, that ends up putting Ohio State and I guess the losers bracket, not really the losers bracket, but they get pushed back, which makes them match up against an Oregon. So I don't know how you fix the seeding. I do love that you reward conference champions, but yeah, this 12-team playoff was the most exciting college football to me in my eyes.
I just think you got to reseed like the NFL.
Probably.
I think you got to do that. What about you? If you do have a change, what is the change that you make to the playoff?
Well, I think that having 12 teams is obviously beneficial, right? I want to see more teams play in the playoffs, which is what we got this year. It makes it more exciting. It kind of elongates the process to where, wow, I'm going to watch the Boca Raton Bowl, and then I have to wait, until 3 weeks until the national championship's on. But you look at some of these playoff games, you look at Arizona State and Texas, that felt like a big time game, in a game where if you were to ask me last year, I don't think I would have laughed at you if I said Arizona, or if you told me Arizona State was going to compete with Texas the way they did.
Well, also not even just that, but with the playoff run, if I told you that Arizona State was playing Texas in the Pop-Tart Bowl, would you watch?
No.
Exactly.
Right? There has to be heavy implications on it, right? And that's what having a 12-team playoff thing. I think it's already confirmed that they're going to move to 16.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I want to say 2026, so not this coming year or the year after. And then there's even rumors that it's going to go up to 32.
Jeez.
Now that might be overkill.
That's a little much. If you're going to do something, I think 25.
Because you have number one Ohio State going against number 32 Duke, right? So I realistically, it's gonna
someone's gonna get hurt,
right? That's not competitive. But I think 16, that's a good sweet spot. I also like rewarding the conference champions. Obviously, you look at a team like Oregon, who kind of got the short end of the stick, but you can say that you won your conference. So congratulations, you get that extra week of rest.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, if you're ranked number 1, which they were, you should have went out there and proved it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
At least have a better game.
Yeah. I mean, the way
more competitive.
Yeah.
That's the worst part, is everybody had a problem with Oregon playing Ohio State, but then you still got to nut up, and not get run out of the Rose Bowl like that. Plus, you could argue that more Oregon fans can make the trip than Ohio State fans.
I will say that is that's a big gripe too, or one of the biggest gripes I have is it was exciting to watch Big Ten champion versus Pac-12 champion of the Rose Bowl.
Oh, 100%.
That was cool.
But to be fair, you would argue, just saying, without the conference alignment, Oregon would have won the Pac-12 and Ohio State would have won the Big Ten.
That's fair.
But
yeah, still, having those felt like really big games. Obviously, it wasn't the national championship, but Cotton Bowl, Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those were the big ones. Those felt like something. But I still think the 12, 16 team playoffs is the way to go.
I think it's necessary. You have this NIL, and like you said, there's a lot of parity. I watched a crap ton of just bowl games in general, and the bowl games were actually really good. Yeah. Like this bowl season in general this year was really good. There were a lot of good games, not just the playoffs. But I think that with the parity, you need the 12 to 16 because you had the whole argument that South Carolina deserved to be in, did Ole Miss deserve to be in, did whatever. Like all those SEC teams lost anyways in their bowl game, so it didn't really matter. But you had teams like Indiana in, because of the whole NIL deal. SMU became a really good team. They ended up not just sneaking in; they won the ACC.
Yeah,
and I don't think anybody really had SMU winning the ACC at the beginning of the year. Arizona State was unbelievable and got into the Big 12 championship when it didn't look like they were going to be in the Big 12 championship. Nobody thought that Arizona State was going to be any good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's important because you want those. It almost feels weird because if you're going to have the NIL and your alumni are going to put all this money in and be like, all right, guys, someone like a big money school like Indiana, where a lot of alumni went there. All right, we just put $15 million into this. Our team's really good. Shoot, we lost to Ohio State and Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, boys. We get to play in like the whatever fucking bowl we get to play in.
Yeah.
And that's it. So it's really nice that teams that had really good seasons, it's not just like, hey, good job, you had a good season. Now go down to the middle of Nebraska and play
the Mayo Bowl.
Play in the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
That was the big talk on Monday. Was last year Ohio State loses to Michigan, they're not getting any chance to play for the college football championship. Mm-hmm. Now, because of the big format, you don't want to make a mistake, but you're almost allowed to make a mistake.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially in 12 games. Granted, it's shorter than the NFL. Mistakes will happen. You'll have a bad game. And so this gives you the opportunity to not absolutely destroy your season if you're one of the top teams.
Look at Notre Dame. They lost to, at home, Northern Illinois in week 3.
Yeah.
If this was the BCS era,
done.
They're not.
It's over. It's over.
Your season's done.
Loss
week 3.
would be so
week 3,
bad to the writers and whoever decided 1 and 2, right? That they wouldn't even be thought of.
Yeah.
have fun and whatever.
Going,
the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Lost to
right.
No offense to Duke's
but now
Mayo,
with the 12-team playoff, it gives good teams who just woke up on the wrong side of the bed that morning. They must have, right? But it gives a chance to good teams who fucked up 1 week to say, hey, let's lock in. We can't make any more mistakes, but we got our one. That's our one.
Yeah.
So now let's go on and continue. That's what they did. They made it through the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice because I want to keep going back to the parity thing because, I mean, there was a time where Alabama lost to Vanderbilt, and then Alabama beat the dog shit out of Georgia, and then Georgia went and beat the dog shit out of Texas, and then Texas went and beat the dog shit out of Tennessee or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay,
Who's the best?
is Danny that good, or like what the hell is going on here? Because all these teams are beating the hell out of each other, and then randomly Vanderbilt beat like 2 of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, the parity is nice because you see a lot of these teams. It almost seems like, certainly in the Big Ten and the SEC, it's going to be insane.
Yeah.
These, but college football, that's unfortunately football's coming to an end.
Sadly,
There are
Running out of games.
There are 3 games in the NFL. No
4
games
if you
left.
count Pro Bowl flag.
Nobody
football.
counts that.
nobody counts that
Nobody
anymore.
And the Pro Bowl wannabe NHL skills competition is not the same. Let's go ahead and move to the NFL.
Perfect.
We got a little bit that we are filming this on Tuesday.
Mhm.
We got to sit down and watch the playoff games. First off, I'm curious. I do disagree with this first point after this, but that's all right. It's only because I died on a hill.
Oh.
I died on a hill and got crushed for what I
I
said
know who
earlier.
you think had the best season ever.
So what did you guys think? The Commanders go into Detroit and shock
Yeah.
the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. So on the list, I put this one first because this was like the one whiff I had for our show last week. Red and I both said, hey, Lions are going to kill this team.
Yeah.
Lions are better on paper. Lions are the
Sorry, I
best.
said the Rams were going to win.
And yeah, this is the only one I missed because I'm pretty sure I said Eagles because defense. I'm pretty sure I said Bills because of Mahomes. This is my only whiff. And oh my God, was it a whiff? Because I went and said they're going to kill. I'm a bad game.
You almost took alternate spread.
I almost took alternate spread. I did take their actual spread, and I never had a chance. It was the biggest shock. And now you're sitting back and looking, and then the point that Brian doesn't like is I put underneath the review, Jaden Daniels, best rookie quarterback ever. And
Oh.
I think he might be. I think the seasons he's putting together is incredible. Now, a stat I saw and I've looked at, I don't have the numbers right in front of me. The season he had this year is better than Lamar's MVP season last year. And not taking anything away from Lamar's MVP season,
Oh, well.
but oh my God, he's passing the ball, he's throwing for touchdowns, he's rushing the ball, and he's 2-0 in the playoffs. He's now the 6th rookie quarterback ever to start a conference championship game, and he's doing it for a team that didn't make playoffs last
He
year.
has as many playoff wins as Dak.
Yeah, that makes him the best rookie quarterback ever. So that's just my thought. Now, what led to the Lions' downfall? It could be injuries. I felt like they were getting healthier, but it's the Commanders.
Could be,
How did you let up all those points to the Commanders?
Could be Ben Johnson's thinking about Chicago.
Could be Ben Johnson. It could be Jared Goff. Lights were too bright. That was the issue he always had in Los Angeles. That's why they wanted to part ways with him in Los Angeles, because when playoff times came, he couldn't handle it. But it was a beatdown.
Yeah.
It was a
I mean,
beatdown.
just because you mentioned Jared Goff, I was saying it, watching the game, saying to a couple of the other guys, you can't win a conference championship, let alone a Super Bowl with Jared Goff as your quarterback. I don't see it. Obviously, he had a great regular season, right? With all those weapons, kind of expect him to. With that offensive coordinator, kind of expect him to, right?
Yeah.
But in the playoffs, like you said, just a little too bright, I think, for as far as the lights go. And then I also was looking at it. I don't know why Aaron Glenn is getting this hype at coach, because
I like Aaron
when
Glenn
you
a
look
lot.
at
I
it,
personally like Aaron.
right, ex-player, he knows the guy. I'm sure he's a good locker room guy. Obviously, he's a defense coordinator in the NFL. He knows what he's talking about as far as defense. But you look statistically, his defense gives up like 24 plus points. They gave up that many points last year and the year before that. So it's not like his defense is kind of like locking down teams like Brian Flores,
Yeah.
or some of these other younger defense coordinators who kind of, I guess, can produce as well as take ownership of, I'm ready to be a head coach. But I think that they kind of got exposed, and they were getting healthier. I don't think injuries, you could really use the injury excuse anymore. At the end of the day,
No.
they came to your house and they punched you in the mouth. And shout out to Jaden Daniels too, because that was crazy. He's definitely, I think it's easily one of the best, if not the best, rookie performances all year.
Yeah.
Especially in the playoffs, going 2-0. It's going to be a good matchup next week to see if they could beat the individual rival.
All right. What about this? Same old boring win for the Chiefs. The Chiefs win again. You said right here.
Oh yeah, I put an
Actually, you wanna
interesting
go
note
ahead.
on there.
You
Put
can
an
go
interesting
ahead and
note on
do
there.
this.
So Chiefs win. Obviously, I'm pretty sure everybody in the nation watched the game. It was one of the most viewed games of the weekend, and very obviously there was a couple of fouls like usual that go the Chiefs' way. There, you got Mahomes diving down last second and getting unnecessary roughness. There was a bad roughing the passer, and then there was a play where he tried to draw another unnecessary roughness, and the refs didn't give it to him. And I'm sure there were other penalties, but those are the big three. And those are the ones that made Troy Aikman absolutely lose his mind.
He was done.
I just
Good.
I think-
It's so nice. Sorry to cut you off, but it's so nice to hear commentators
yeah.
have
Be done with it.
Aikman was
not as
pissed.
much bias towards Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about that later with Tony Romo to Josh out.
So I don't think it wasn't like Aikman wasn't showing bias. It was just Aikman's so fed up with the officiating in the NFL. And so maybe it's not he's mad at Mahomes, he's more so mad at the officiating. And the comparison that I have it, because we're kind of new to this, the NFL players drawing fouls. One of the greatest scorers of our generation in the NBA is James Harden. And you want to know why he scores so many points? Because he is so freaking good at drawing fouls. So Mahomes is just taking that basketball mentality of abusing the rules and taking to the NFL. That's what makes the Chiefs winners. Is it the most annoying thing to watch on a Sunday or Saturday now? Yes. Oh, I hate it. I hate when I see two Texans players slam their own heads, but it happens to be over Patrick Mahomes, so it's an unnecessary roughness. So the point that Brian wanted me to say is the head ref was Clay Martin, and word got around the Chiefs, I believe, they're either 7-0 or 8-0 Clay Martin.
7-0.
7-0. They have never lost to Clay Martin. So is Clay
He's
Martin
undefeated, baby.
pro Chiefs? I don't know. So when you see that, you see the bad calls, you see Mahomes trying to flop around, you see the Texans struggle to get things going, and then you see the Chiefs have never lost with this ref. It's a very NFL is rigged type game. I don't believe that. I think Chiefs are winners. Why are they winners? They know the rules. They know how the game is played. Mahomes, if his offense isn't there, what does he know how to do? He knows how to abuse the rules. We also see Josh Allen do that all the time. Josh Allen is like the king of flopping and drawing fouls. But when it happens with the Chiefs, it just gets blasted. So I know you cut me off. Did you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, just that it's so annoying because the Chiefs just always find a way to win, right?
Yes.
You have to
Always fucking.
tack it to obviously Andy Reid being top 5, top 3 coach in NFL history. You obviously have Patrick Mahomes, who even if he is drawing fouls here, whining, complaining at the refs, he's a quarterback. Quarterbacks are notoriously, complainers, right?
Best quarterback of all time was a massive complainer.
There you go.
So
And even though you see him do that, we see the history with the referee, we see that happening. He still makes ridiculous plays like that passing touchdown to Travis Kelce.
Oh my god!
I mean, he is.
I want to say cue the clip.
Literally.
Good.
It's just a clip right here.
We can't.
Imagine me falling down. Perfect.
You want to
pass.
actually give me that football where Red stand over there?
Literally falling face first. Knees are inches off the ground. It's just a nice dart throw right to Travis Kelce for a touchdown. Like they practice it.
It had heat too.
I'm telling you, it's so annoying because he is so damn good. And the Chiefs, they know how to build a team around him, even when you think Kelce's getting too old. Playoff Kelce is different than regular season Kelce.
By the way,
last
he did
couple
catch
years.
2 tutties.
He did.
But I kind of said last week I said this has got 2 tutties and 100 yards for
Yeah, you
Kelce
nailed
written
that.
all over.
They re-signed Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt looked like he had didn't just come off of his couch during the last 6 weeks of the regular season. And then Hollywood Brown's out for the season. Oh, they only have Xavier Worthy. They don't need anyone else. They got Patrick Mahomes and Kelce doing what they got to do. And that defense is fucking locked down.
It's crazy.
I mean, that's a guy who, just kind of bouncing off what I said earlier, a guy like Steve Spagnuolo, who's been an NFL coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
He used to be coach back in the day, head coach. Why isn't he getting opportunities to look for head
I don't
coaching
think he
jobs
wants
again?
it. To be honest with you, just as an answer, I don't think he wants to.
I mean,
my
when,
opinion.
when
Maybe
you,
he's telling
when you work
teams.
for the Chiefs, it's like,
Yeah.
I guess it's like kind of like Eric Bieniemy, right?
Yeah,
Everyone thought
that's who I was thinking
he's
about,
due
yeah.
for a head coaching job, but it's like every year I'm just going to be the OC and win a ring as an OC.
Yeah. Might as well,
Coach Patrick Mahomes. And
No
guess what?
stress.
I could go anywhere else. I'm not getting even close to Patrick Mahomes.
No.
Yeah. Not at all.
I will say that I wanted to chime in on this. 2 things about the whole Chiefs with the ref sins. I was talking to my dad about it, and I said, I don't know if it can be proved that the refs are pro Chiefs, but I will confidently say that the Chiefs are so good that if they get a second chance, 100% of the time,
Every time.
they take it.
Every time.
Every time. They never mess up twice.
That's probably exactly why it looks so bad. Teams are always, every year, every game almost, there's bad calls. But I think you're right, because when those bad calls happen to the Chiefs, guaranteed to capitalize.
100% all the time. They capitalize every single time.
Yeah.
And the other thing I will say is a little bit off topic, talking about refs favoring. I can see how annoying it is if you're playing against the Chiefs with Clay Martin. This just so happened I didn't mean to wear this jersey because I saw this. Just so happened there is a referee in the English Premier League, Anthony Taylor. He has reffed 10 games against Kelsey. Kelsey has not won a game, and they've had 12 dudes sent off while he's the referee.
Good head ref.
So I can understand.
He's itching.
So yeah, he's ready.
So I can understand.
Just say one word. I promise
He
you.
leaves the yellow card at home. He's taking only the red.
So I can. Well, that's the problem. Is it's only the red for
Right.
Right.
But so I can understand. I'm on the receiving end of
side,
that, and it pisses me off every single time I see his bald head. All right. So we got the Chiefs out of the way. Boring ass Chiefs.
Same old Chiefs.
Same old Chiefs. All right. Some would say it was a little too cold in Philadelphia. Some people were dumb enough to say that the Rams had a chance, not knowing the forecast and knowing it would snow. That was on some people that did that. They do limited research and talking to a microphone like they know something. The Eagles are still the Eagles, and Saquon Barkley
Is that math?
is someone that you would build a franchise around. You probably wouldn't let walk if you had him.
Probably wouldn't complain about having to pay him $3 or $4 more million than he was asking.
I just think that if you had him, you wouldn't want to get rid of him. Some would probably think that. Unfortunately, the Giants didn't think that, and the Eagles benefited. Red, what did you think about that game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the Rams kind of made it interesting, a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. Obviously, the weather played into account throughout the whole game, but the Eagles just looked dominant, especially on the ground, right? Jalen Hurts had a big run. Saquon Barkley obviously broke one off for like 72 yards. Two off. And it seems like there's no stopping Saquon, right? And the Rams have a nice, gritty, young defense too, and they kind of just toyed with them on the run. But you saw it. We were talking about it previously, or before we went live. The Rams really had a chance there, that drive. But I think we talked about it earlier, or in one of the group chats during the game, or when it was over. That center was kind of lost and just let Jalen Carter
straight
wide open, right? Dude, come on in, sir.
Of all cool people, too, Jalen Carter, who's having an unbelievable year.
That's got to be bad. Chip him, get somebody else, especially in this
You want to put the tight end on him.
Yeah,
put the running back and pass block on him
for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the Eagles. You'd look at it right now. The Eagles are definitely. I mean, I understand there's only 4 teams left, but you would say that they have the strongest case to be like, oh yeah, they could definitely be Super Bowl champions. They have the run game. Some people are still iffy on Jalen Hurts on if he is demanded to throw the ball, but does he need to throw the ball? That offensive line is unbelievable. They're the best offensive line in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I would say arguably, if the Lions didn't just get blown out.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I thought it was between the Eagles and the Lions. Lions get blown out. Eagles win in a tough snow game. It's the Eagles. Saquon Barkley runs for another 100 yards. I mean, if his line's ever
200
under
yards almost.
Yeah, well, he almost ran. He ran for 200 on him. That's something else I didn't know. He ran for 200 on him in the regular season.
250, I believe.
If you ever see a line of Saquon Barkley under about 125, it's like betting Genty. Just bet the over. It doesn't matter how ridiculous it looks. But the Eagles looked unbelievable. I mean, their defense is so good.
Are you
iffy
gonna
on their
counter
defense?
that. I'm not iffy on their defense, and the defense is why I took them to win this
Because
game.
you got white guys on the defense. Huh?
Oh yeah, you got
Cooper
Desine, and Blankenship. We need more. They should trade for Riley Moss. No, but the defense is why I took them in this game. Like I love I love the Rams. I said there's a chance playoff Stafford shows up, but the defense was just going to outclass him. And that's basically what happened. And the defense took advantage of that weather. I think the Rams had like 3 fumbles. Maybe they had 4 fumbles and lost 3 of them or whatever it was. Either way, they definitely showed some struggles in the weather. And they had the missed block at the end of the game. With Saquon, what I've been saying, and I know it's easy to say Giants should have kept him. Giants are dumb. The last few weeks I've been saying, thank God Saquon went to the Eagles, because we're seeing like a historic season. That 0% chance happens with the Giants. The Giants keep him. They maybe win 5 or 6 games, 7 games tops, and he rushes for like 1,100 yards. That's the type of seasons he was having with the Giants. Because he went to this amazing situation, because the Eagles recognize, hey, we had a good season with DeAndre Swift, who's up there for maybe being a good running back, maybe not. Let's bring in one of the best running backs of this generation, and it's just showing how much that helps. And now Hurts is hurting. He definitely showed some injury. I know he had the concussion. He took a bunch of time off. He got hurt in the game. I think there was a couple plays where they didn't run the tush push because Hurts is hurting. It doesn't matter now, because you do have a Saquon who could take that load off of Jalen Hurts. So now he doesn't have to do all those crazy plays. He doesn't have to run it. He doesn't have to make the perfect throws, because you're going to get 60% of your yards by just dumping it off or handing it off to Saquon Barkley. So I believe the Eagles might be the most bet team to win the Super Bowl right now, or maybe the favorites. I know they're up there, especially because they have to go through the Commanders now.
Yeah.
But they do, especially with their defense and offensive line, it almost feels like that's the recipe to win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
That's the recipe to win football games.
100%.
You have a good defense and offensive line, that's it.
And worst case scenario, just throw it to AJ Brown. He's kind of good.
Or Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith's running a slant somewhere.
Or Dallas Goddard. But Dallas Goddard ain't too
He has
bad
some
of a
big
tight end
plays
either.
too. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
crazy.
he is really good. You got anything on this game, or would you like to?
That's it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we
I
had
didn't want to push off the Ravens talk anymore.
we had someone fall to their knees. It's unfortunate. Ravens.
Should we let him speak last on it? Should we say our 2 cents? Should we let
Sure.
him go first and get
No,
everything out?
32
No,
cents. 32 cents.
Yeah,
I'll
first.
make it quick. He
Ravens
is,
Bills.
he is the huge Ravens fan, so obviously some depression on the other side of this table right now. We'll get to that later. I took the Bills in this game because my whole philosophy was their home team, and that was it. There was no other deep insight. I just say, Bills are home. It's a coin flip. I'm going to take the home team. It sucks. The Ravens kind of choked. They had a bunch of opportunities, and they couldn't capitalize. Lamar had a couple of turnovers. Maybe you can blame him for them. Maybe you can't. But 2 turnovers against a really good Bills team is not how you're going to win. And even with those 2 turnovers, guess what? They have a chance to come back and win the game. And some tight end who maybe didn't have his best year kind of dropped a pass. Now, did he drop the pass because he sucks? Or did he drop a pass because he's playing in the snow and it's kind of a tough play? I don't know. Either way, in a divisional playoff game, you got to make that play. So Bills won the game, did not win it convincingly. Ravens had a chance, and now, unfortunately, and this isn't against Lamar this year, it builds on his playoff narrative where he struggles in the playoffs. Definitely in no case his fault, I believe, this year.
I mean, I agree. I don't think it mattered. Obviously, it doesn't help that Lamar had 2 turnovers.
Yeah.
The pick and the fumble. The fumble was a little bad. I think you probably should have a little bit better ball security.
Just sit
in
on
that
it, I
situation.
feel like, in that situation.
But it definitely builds the narrative. Although I personally think that it didn't matter if Lamar went out there, ran for 100 and threw for 304 touchdowns and lost the game. It was still going to build on Lamar's playoff legacy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I don't know. No matter what, there was going to be a negative on Lamar Jackson. The thing in the headline isn't going to be, oh, Lamar Jackson, great game, but Ravens don't.
Yeah.
That's not really how that works for people like Patrick Mahomes, although he's won 3 Super Bowls, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, those type of quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, those type of quarterbacks. There's no, oh, you had a good game, but you lost. There is none of that. It is, you lost.
Yeah.
I don't care if you threw 500 yards. You lost. That game was definitely interesting. They had a lot. The Bills obviously took the ball away, and the Ravens still made it close. Now, I don't necessarily like a lot of the hate on Mark Andrews, although he did obviously have the fumble. He did drop a few passes before the one.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to say I don't like the hate because it was a tough play. I'm going to say are you confident if you're somebody that believes that Mark Andrews made a massive mistake, which he did, and the Ravens were going to go on to win that game? Are you confident that with a minute and 40-something seconds left and 2 timeouts, Josh Allen can't get that team into field goal position to win the game? That's what my argument is.
Yeah.
It's
not a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee that the Ravens, I mean, it was a tie game, correct?
Yeah.
So there's not a guarantee that the Ravens win in overtime. There's not a guarantee that the Ravens win in regular time. Because, I mean, Bass and that weather is difficult, but Tucker and Bass kind of made that weather look
it's hard, though,
easy to
because
kick
you drop that, and you're right, it's not a guarantee you win the game, but when you drop it, there is a guarantee that you lose.
Go, yeah.
So that's where the issue is.
Yeah,
like you never know what your defense is going to do. The Bills hadn't been moving the ball all that well against the Ravens, so it just sucks.
It's just like crunch time, though. Is like I would argue the quarterbacks that I just named, Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and Burrow. To be honest with you, I don't care if they've thrown for 100 yards the entire game. I still wouldn't want to give them the ball with a minute and a half left because you just kind of know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All right, we've delayed it enough.
Let's go to our resident Ravens fan.
I don't enjoy this. I don't enjoy this.
I kind of enjoy it.
I'm sorry. I don't enjoy this. Normally, see, because I don't care about the Ravens.
That's true.
Like, if you're like a Phillies fan and the Mets just beat the shit out of the Phillies, I hope you sit there and sob. But I don't care about the Ravens.
Nah, Red and I go back and forth with Ravens, Cowboys, and I'm normally on the losing end, so I have a chance to soak this in.
We delayed it enough. Go ahead.
I mean, it's in typical Baltimore Ravens fashion. The Ravens beat the Ravens.
Yeah.
And, we're the better offensive team. We also are the team that turned over the ball 3 times. So just to start on Lamar had a good game. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't terrible either, right? He had the pick, really bad pick. I don't know if it was miscommunication. I know he was getting blitzed by Milano, so that could have been just he felt the pressure, had to get it off too early. But the pick was bad, and then obviously the fumble was bad. But what I'm not seeing or hearing is the fumble started with our Pro Bowl center, All-Pro center, Tyler Linderbaum, snapping the ball about 3 feet above his head to the left, which Lamar caught with one hand.
Yeah.
Right? And then he has a free DeMar Hamlin coming off the edge. And Lamar has always been criticized for trying to do too much. There, like you said, we just got to follow the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so unfortunate how it happened because it was literally maybe about 3 inches off the ground from him putting the ball on the ground, and he's done, right? Instead, it just dropped, and obviously they got the fumble. But I could make the argument that the Bills didn't score off of Lamar's 2 turnovers either.
No,
so defense, talk about defense. First half was okay. I think it was a bullshit call on that defensive pass interference on Tre'Davious White. If any type of pass interference, it was offensive pass interference in my head. And I think from what I'm seeing online and to some of the guys that I've talked to, I think most people would agree that was a bad call. But that was the difference between going down 14-7 in the first half to now you're down 21-7, which is obviously a big hole, a deeper hole. I think Mark Andrews is obviously probably one of the most hated people in Baltimore right now. And it just sucks. I still love the guy, love him as a player. It's just the one time you're not at your best is the worst time for the Ravens, obviously, for you to not be at your best. Hasn't had a fumble since 2019. And
that's crazy.
He catches a 20-yard first down on right over the middle of the field. And instead of just going down or lowering your shoulder, tucking the ball, he's backpedaling, he's sidestepping, he's trying to juke out 3 guys. And then he fumbles the ball. And we just give the ball away there. And then the Bills score on that drive. Early in the first quarter, you have Derrick Henry, a wide open wheel. Yeah, the ball's a little short. Had 2 hands on it, though. Drops it. Mark Andrews, obviously, on the 2-point conversion to finish the game, or to tie the game. People are saying that was a bad throw on Lamar. I don't see it. Obviously, it was a little behind him. If he's running this way, you kind of want it out here on your left-hand side so he can catch it in his stride. There's a little, you have to adjust, right? You're in the NFL. You adjust to bad balls, right? I get it if it was behind him up here, too much over here. It was in his hands. It was in his chest.
It's almost like if you hit both hands, you got to catch it.
Right? And you would think that Mark Andrews any other day would catch that. And statistically, he would catch that any other day. So it's just so frustrating to see it. I think Todd Monken didn't have the best game either as an offensive play caller. I think you have 2 opportunities throughout the game to go for it on 2, and not once do you think about running or lining up and going with Derrick Henry 2 yards away. That's questionable in my opinion. But I get it. Lamar's your best player. You want to have the best player or the ball in the best player's hands. It's just unfortunate. Bills made no mistakes and we made too many.
Yeah.
And we still only lost by 2. But talk about a perfect bookend, right? You're playing the Kansas City Chiefs and you lose by 2 by about a big toe.
If that. Yeah,
If
toenail, yeah.
And you lost the championship last year by a punch out in the half-yard line.
I'm telling you. Ravens beat the Ravens. They find a way to do it. So you have likely out by a toenail in the first game to beat the Super Bowl champs. And then you have, at the end of the season, you lose by a drop pass to, obviously, like you guys said, they could have scored down and easily killed the clock.
Yeah.
I'd rather us get that 2-point conversion and
100%.
lose off of a game-winning field goal.
100%. You make the other team win.
That, I would hold my head high. But instead, I'm here today still just in depression. The Ravens find a way to lose every time in the playoffs, and Lamar gets the most shit for it, even though it wasn't solely his fault. Obviously, if he limits those turnovers, we probably score there. But still, at the end of the day, like you said, he could have gone for 350 and 100 on the ground, and they still lost. It's still going to be Lamar's fault.
Yeah, that's just how it is
now.
now.
Going to be a look at his playoff record. It's all right.
That's how it is. You can't win the big game. Right, I mean that's how the argument is with every single
any quarterback that hasn't won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And fun fact, since the Patriots dynasty, there hasn't been a whole lot of quarterbacks to win the Super Bowl. Between the Chiefs dynasty and the Patriots dynasty, there's a small amount of the other teams that have won. I think I saw something that there are only 3 active quarterbacks in the NFL that have won a Super Bowl. And that might be less, to be honest with you. Let's do it real quick. Let's think about it.
Stafford,
Mahomes.
Are we counting backups?
That's what I'm thinking.
No, I think it's the starting quarterback.
Because technically Carson Wentz won the Super Bowl.
But no, he was hurt.
He was still on his roster, though. Okay. He still got a ring.
But you see what I'm saying?
Oh, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right?
I never thought of that.
Like, it's because the old guard that won with Brady integrated.
There's.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a few once you like sit back and think about it.
I think there is.
But like, there's that, the old guard of guys that have won a Super Bowl, like Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, have all retired.
Yeah,
it's just Tom Brady was longevity, and then right as Tom Brady's dynasty ended,
so anybody in their 30s, basically, anybody in their 30s hasn't won a Super Bowl. Except for Brady, and anybody in their 20s hasn't won a Super Bowl because of Mahomes. Yeah, that's kind of how it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's a little rough that these guys, and it's going to eat into their now. It's going to eat into their legacy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's going to eat into their Hall of Fame candidacy because I don't know if you can look at someone like Lamar Jackson and say, "See a Hall of Famer, he won a Super Bowl."
Yeah.
Like, well, right now,
Dan Marino is a Hall of Famer.
Exactly.
He didn't win a Super Bowl yet.
Right now, he's got 3 MVPs.
Yeah.
Well, two. Probably.
If he doesn't win this year,
arguably going to be a third.
I'll be mad if he doesn't win this
exactly.
year. Yeah.
But so, like,
I think. Sorry, just to cut you off. I think him losing or the Ravens losing solidified as.
Well,
Lamar
the voting's already done.
I know, but mentally, to me, it solidified him as the MVP.
That's fair. So,
it's
but
consolation.
Like, yeah.
But like, this is what I'm kind of getting at is like, let's say that maybe like Lamar doesn't win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Let's say that Allen doesn't win a Super Bowl. Let's say that Burrow doesn't win a Super Bowl. If all 3 of those guys were to continue on the trajectory their career has been, are they Hall of Famers?
Yeah, they're all like almost.
I would say they're easily Hall of Famers.
Lamar and Josh Allen. I don't know about Joe Burrow.
Well, Joe Burrow put up an insane year this year.
But Joe Burrow's had a lot of like injuries and time
I saw
off.
stats on Twitter today. A comparison: Joe Burrow, Andy Dalton. They have the same win-loss record.
Well, that's crazy. See, that's also what
same playoff wins.
That's also what. That's also
get this Eli Manning.
That's also.
Conversation.
That's also. That's also. Is quarterback wins like a stat? Because I want to say that because like if you want to look at like Joe Burrow's quarterback stats this year, he's up there with Lamar, production wise.
Yeah.
I mean, he threw for 500 yards multiple times
against the Ravens.
Well, I didn't want to add that.
Ravens still won. Ravens still won both games.
Well, like we said, when we were talking about the Bengals a few weeks ago, or not a few weeks ago, like a month or so ago, the entire NFL was like 51-1
Yeah.
when their offense scored 33 points. The Bengals were 2-4 when their offense scored more than 33 points. It's just really interesting. And can you hold quarterbacks to where like you didn't win the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Because we were talking about it with the Eagles. What wins football games in the playoffs? Certainly offensive line and defensive line.
Yeah.
And defense in general. There's been a whole lot of teams that have solely won off defense. You could argue that Aaron Rodgers has a Super Bowl because of defense. You could argue that Russell Wilson has his Super Bowl because of defense. You could argue a few of the Patriots Super Bowls were because of their unbelievable,
especially the early 2000s.
Yeah,
exactly. The defense is crazy.
So, like, can you hold that against the quarterback? I don't know. I know they're the leader of the team.
I think nowadays you can't.
I don't think you can, especially with like it seems like these dynasties just pick up where the other one left off.
And excluding Mahomes, as far as the crop of talent that we have now, Mahomes is surefire Hall of Famer, right? He's going to be first ballot.
If he wins this year, he's going into the GOAT category.
No, for sure.
If he's not already there.
If you look at Lamar, Allen, and Burrow, I think Lamar's still that second guy who, out of those three, you would for sure say Lamar's a Hall of Famer because he has the accolades, right? He's going to have potentially 3 MVPs. He's the highest rusher in NFL history for a quarterback. Like, he has the stats and he has the accolades. Allen's probably second because Allen's just that fucking good. He just hasn't won an MVP yet. He hasn't won an MVP yet.
He has Lamar Jackson.
Right. Joe Burrow, right, who is obviously good. He made it to a Super Bowl. He just he can't stay on the field because he's hurt a lot. And obviously having a shit offensive line, that's going to do something to you. But at the end of the day, I think as long as Mahomes is breathing, good luck to any other quarterback.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
You got to get lucky.
All right, speaking about offensive line real quick, I know we have the preview on here. I think since we've run a little bit long, I just want to get you guys' teams that you're going to think is going to win. But I did want to talk about one thing, big time hiring. A very good offensive coach is going to Chicago to a quarterback that has an immense amount of talent.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think anybody denies that Caleb Williams has a bunch of talent. At least me personally, and I'll get my opinion out of the way first. If you were to watch the way the Lions played these last 2 years, it is a very heavy dependent on the offensive line team. Now, there is no doubt that I'd say on paper, you argue that the Bears have better weapons than the Lions. I think you could say that. Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, you don't think so? Huh?
Because Amon-Ra is a better wide receiver than anyone they have. Jameson Williams probably is definitely better than Keenan Allen. Probably the same level as DJ Moore.
I'll give you. You can make an argument for wide receiver,
not for running back. Running back's different, but that's also with the offensive line. That's what I'm going to say.
Laporte is really good.
Is
sneaky.
Sneaky.
Will Ben Johnson and the way he likes to draw up plays be able to translate to a team like Chicago, where Caleb Williams is nothing like Jared Goff when it comes to play style?
Yeah.
And their offensive line was the weakest part of their team. When Ben Johnson, it looks like his offense heavily relies on offensive line.
Yeah.
How do you think this goes?
This is Bears' chance to see if their team's actually cursed. Right? I mean, they haven't been able to see no 4,000-yard passer. So Ben Johnson's biggest goal this year or in the offseason should be, how can we get the ball out of Caleb's hands? Is that scheming up a lot of quick passes like Cliff Kingsbury, or is that we got to focus on the offensive line? Because you're right, they're kind of trash, right? So that's going to be the biggest issue. And this is now the Bears' chance to say, can we have a good team? Because everything's there. You're right. There's weapons on offense. They're not better than the Lions, but there is weapons.
After saying it and we talked about it, I look like an idiot there.
I'll give you wide receivers.
It's not far away.
I'll give you wide receivers for sure comparable.
Running backs are nowhere near.
Yeah, I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs looks like a top 3 running back in the NFL, but they're comparable, and he's just got to figure out, how can we get the ball out of Caleb's hands? What plays are we scheming? Because Caleb's talent is there. If he's able to get the ball out and hit his receivers, as bad as a season as the Bears had, Caleb went like 3 months without throwing an interception.
Yeah, no.
So he's not turning the ball over. he has nowhere to go. He has nowhere to throw it. And I loved looking on X or Twitter and seeing like what's Caleb supposed to do on this play. Every single receiver is running a basic post and they're all covered. So his goal is, what can I do to get the ball out of Caleb's hands? That's pretty much it. I think it's a great hiring because I think their defense is fine. They have really good players on defense, and it's just their offense is killing them. So that's what they needed.
Doesn't get any easier in that division either.
No, I mean, I said it from day one when Eberflus got fired. I think you need to get Caleb Williams, an offensive guy, an offensive guru, another Sean McVay, a Cliff Kingsbury. Obviously, didn't work out too well in Arizona, but he kind of revitalized his career in Washington. It looks like Ben Johnson was probably the highest or the most popular candidate for teams, especially if you have a young quarterback, right? I was seeing a lot of Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence needs another offensive guru guy, right?
Is he a guy?
He needs the Bears obviously needed one, and if he went to the Raiders, could have drafted your pick of the litter of who was coming out. Obviously, I don't think whoever's coming out of this draft is comparable to Trevor Lawrence or Caleb Williams, but I think he goes to the best situation, which is I think Chicago. Again, we're hearing last year when Caleb got drafted, it's the best situation for a rookie ever, right? And offensively, as far as weapons goes, it was, I think. But as the season progressed, the offensive line just kind of showed it was bad. And like you said, we got to get the ball out of Caleb's hands, right? If you look at some of the plays from USC, take out the highlight plays of him running around, throwing 80-yard passes, right? Take those out. You look at normal USC drives, especially during his Heisman season, the first 2 series consisted of screen passes, 2-yard slants, and handing the ball off. That was it. Get young QBs in a momentum, right?
Yeah.
Get them comfortable in the game. And especially if you know your offensive line is struggling, we can't have him drop back a fucking 70-yard drop back and then hold the ball, try to throw, like you said,
try to hit a deep post somewhere.
Yeah. Deep outs. Like, we can't, if we don't have the time to develop the plays, we can't run those plays, right? Mm-hmm. So let's do something new. I think Ben Johnson, he's going to go in there and he's going to be what a Caleb Williams needs. I really thought Cliff Kingsbury was going to take that job.
Me too. Just
because they had obviously history. Cliff was Caleb's QB coach at USC, Caleb's last year. But I think Ben Johnson was the best available guy for him. So it's going to be exciting.
I think one of the reasons, last thing here, I think one of the reasons the Bears I think they would have wanted Cliff Kingsbury too. I think the Bears wanted to pounce on a really good head coach because Cliff came out and said that he's not taking any interviews for head coach until the Commanders season is done.
Okay.
And look at,
and they're going another week.
Look at Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn for the Lions. They were taking Skype interviews, all these interviews mid playoffs.
A lot of Detroit fans think that Ben Johnson was saving some plays for the Bears. Now that's obviously not
true. It's going to be a hell of a season next year. You have to go in, clearly the worst team in that division. Yeah. You go to play your old team twice, who is, a couple plays away from potentially being an NFC championship, right? A 14-win Vikings who got kind of not exposed, but kind of outplayed in their playoff game. Yep. And then you have the Packers who also made it to the playoffs.
So they win 12, 11 games.
Yeah,
they won 11 games.
It's going to be tough, but I think I can see the Lions taking a little bit of a step back. I don't know about the Packers and the Vikings. Obviously, that's yet to be seen, but it's going to be interesting to watch.
And it's going to be, I know I said last thing, but I did want to do, I think personally a successful Bears season next year would be Caleb Williams looks great. Your team looks really promising and you win like 7 games.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, it seems like for the Bears, that might not keep Ben Johnson his job because they're pretty quick with a trigger.
See, I think Ben stays.
I hope Ben
you let him stay a couple years, but then guess what? They do it's the same production as there, or depending on the offseason goes, what moves you make, who you draft, and if they turn out to not work, Ryan Poles is out of there.
Yeah,
their GM, because there was a lot of people wanting his head, this past season too. So I was surprised he didn't leave.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think he's gonna get the chopping block next season, depending on their record.
He's got it, but I think a successful Bears season in that division next year has got to be 6-7 wins, and if you look promising,
give Caleb Williams some continuity. Give him some continuity.
He's got 4 years on the contract. They've got time
to franchise tag, maybe
exactly.
2 of them. Maybe a third. Maybe they get that.
Let's get to these predictions so we can get to our baseball talks. That's always what I look forward to.
Yeah, shut up. Yeah, of course you do. All right, I want your guys' picks. we have the Commanders. The road runs through Philadelphia. Commanders playing the Eagles in Philadelphia. How do you think it's going to shake out, Cody?
This is a game where like it feels like the chalk pick is take the Eagles. Eagles are the better team all around. Eagles are going to be at home. Eagles defense is elite. I want to see the Commanders win. So this is more of a who do I want to see win?
You're a Cowboys fan.
I'm a Cowboys fan, so I can't pick.
Either way, you're gonna be wrong.
I guess you're right. You're right. My
if
bad.
I had my choice, it'd be the Rams right now or something, right? But if I have to choose an NFC East team, I hate the Eagles more than I hate the Commanders. Commanders have really not done anything really to break my heart. Eagles, I feel like the last 4 or 5 years, it's always been Eagles, Cowboys. So I want to see the first rookie quarterback ever to start in the Super Bowl. I want to see Jaden Daniels win this game, so I'm going to take the Commanders on the road.
All right. What about you?
For me, it comes down to, I'm not going to say who's the better quarterback because it's only been a year for Jaden Daniels, not even a full year. They're still playing. But I'm going to take who's been the better quarterback in the playoffs, and right now it's Jaden Daniels. I think it is the upset pick. Not a lot of people I don't think are expecting them to get past the Eagles in that defense and that try to get through that offensive line. I just think go with the hot hand. They have so much momentum right now. Jaden Daniels playing out of his mind. Scary Terry looks like a freaking wide receiver 1 again. So I think I would go with them.
You know, I also noticed Scary Terry went to Ohio State as well. A lot of people forgot about him.
The current line, by the way, I'm just checking because I'm curious, is Eagles -6, which that feels about right.
Yeah,
That feels about right. But yeah.
Don't worry, Josh. I got you.
Sorry, Josh.
Don't worry.
Sorry, Josh.
I got you. He does the hard work for our podcast, and you guys can't even respect him by taking the favorites. That's
I'm
ridiculous.
a Cowboys fan. I'd rather.
I'm taking the Eagles. One, because I do believe they're the best team left in the playoffs. At least best looking team.
Yeah, we did. We did hype them up a lot.
We did. I also think that with the way Philadelphia has been all season, it's kind of like a literally week to week, what have you done lately for me for Nick Sirianni? I have almost no doubt in my mind. I don't think the Eagles will do it because Nick Sirianni, in my opinion, is a very good head coach. But I have no doubt that there will be a lot of Eagles fans, if the Eagles lose this game, that want Nick Sirianni out and Jalen Hurts out. God forbid you make it to a championship game and you want everybody out. I'm going to take the Eagles for that, even though the Philadelphia mayor doesn't know how to spell Eagles.
Yeah, so
I did not see that. I'll have to look that up.
Everybody repeat after me. E-A-E.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Not.
That seems more like a second grade issue.
Yeah.
So, although Philadelphia's governing body doesn't know how to spell the Eagles, I think the Eagles know how to spell the Eagles.
Yeah.
That makes no sense for the fact that I'm picking them, but I just see the way Saquon Barkley's running.
Yeah.
And I know we've also talked about this, that teams normally don't have unbelievable running backs and win the Super Bowl. Because like you'd have to think back to like, at least in my novice memory, I think the last really good running back to win the Super Bowl was Marshawn Lynch.
But even then, I don't think he was all that. At least he wasn't paid like all that.
Well, not only just paid all that, but you're talking about Saquon Barkley. He's the best running back in the NFL. Arguably. Actually, this season,
this season,
this season he's definitely.
This is like a top 2 season all time.
Yeah, exactly. And so you'd have to think about when the last time an elite running back won the Super Bowl. But I'm going to contradict what I've said, where I've said that elite running backs don't normally win the Super Bowl. He's at least going to get to the Super Bowl and be this game.
Yeah, it's a good call.
All right, we got the rivalry, which is weird to say rivalry because they are not division teams.
Patriots Colts, right?
This is the Patriots. This is literally the modern day Patriots versus Colts, where you meet in your respective championship game,
or at least the playoffs.
Most of the time, it goes one way. It certainly has gone one way for a while. Red, we'll start with you this time. We have the Buffalo Bills traveling to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. And the Zebras.
It's so tough to try to pick this game because, right, on one hand, I don't want to pick the team that just beat us. And I don't like Josh Allen anymore. I used to. I don't like him anymore.
Don't let the media hurt the way you think of Josh Allen.
If, AJ hurt the way I think about Josh Allen because he
That's fair.
defends him so
That's
much.
fair.
That's fair.
No,
Surprised
but
it didn't say
it's
Nick.
so hard to pick against the Chiefs, especially when they're at home. And I'm not going to do it now. I think the Chiefs still win. I think they find a way to win, even if you want to call it the refs, you want to call it, getting lucky. I don't care. They're going to find a way to win. So I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm assuming it's going to be a close game. It always is a close game. Nail biter. Harrison Butker, game-winning field goal, has this written all over.
Yeah.
And then he tells, no. Never mind.
All right, so I'll go next on this. And it's right. It's a tough game to pick. The Chiefs, they tried in 16 games this year. So that was in try week 18. And in those 16 games they tried this year, they lost once. And I believe it's to the Bills. So the Bills have their number. Now that can mean one of two things. It can mean one, the Bills know how to beat the Chiefs. Or it can mean two, top head coach Andy Reid's gathering information. We're going to make the playoffs no matter what. Let's hold stuff back from the Bills. Let's see what they have. And maybe the game plan he comes out is just unbelievable.
Would you like a fun fact?
I would love a fun fact.
The Bills have beaten, in the Josh Allen Mahomes era, the Bills have beaten the Chiefs every single time in the regular season, and the Chiefs have beat the Bills every single time.
So hammer on the Chiefs, right? It's almost annoying how much the Chiefs have been winning and how much you just got to keep taking the Chiefs. And even in a game where it feels like the Bills should win, Bills were kind of choking at the end against the Ravens, and they definitely cannot do that against the Chiefs. So I'm going to take the Chiefs at home.
All right. Well, I'll differ on this one too. Not for any logical reason, except for the fact that I did describe this as the Patriots versus the Colts back with those AFC Championship games. And so I'm going to take the embodiment vision of the Colts. The team that keeps losing to this powerhouse team, they're going to finally get one. They got to finally get one. The Colts got one.
Just one.
Just one. Maybe this is the one.
Well, they also lost in the Super Bowl, so they got it twice.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason I'm taking him. You could obviously argue that based on the entire regular season, obviously Josh Allen was the better quarterback this year.
Yeah.
But everybody knows, it almost seems like the Chiefs have literally just gotten to the grooves that the Patriots did. Let's get to the playoffs. The season doesn't start until Thanksgiving anyways. Let's get to the playoffs. Let's stay healthy. And then we're gonna beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And I think that that last playoff game perfectly pictured. Travis Kelce was damn near close to nothing all year. He was a shadow of himself. Everybody was talking about, maybe Travis should retire.
He's
old. Slow. He's old. 160 plus yards in a touch. No big deal. And not running away from guys, but he found a lot of open space.
Yeah.
I just think that the Chiefs are that type of team where we can't base them off of their regular season. Now, they did lose 2 games.
Yeah.
One, they tried it. You're right.
Yeah.
But you can't base them off the regular season anymore because if the Chiefs get in the playoffs, there's no if. When the Chiefs get in the playoffs, they're a different team.
They are.
But with that being said, like I said, for my heart, I gotta take it. I just gotta go against it because it just reminds me too much of the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning era where
emotional connection.
Peyton Manning was second fiddle.
If the Bills didn't beat the Ravens to make it to this game, I probably would have picked the Bills, but I'm too bitter. So
I like
that's
it.
fair.
Screw the Bills.
And by the way, don't let AJ or the media take Josh Allen's a good guy. Okay, Josh Allen's a good guy.
I hate Josh Allen so much. I hate him so much.
I like Josh Allen.
Even though he's such a good guy.
That's what I'm saying. He's such a good guy.
On the final knee, what
He's
did he
such a
do? He
good
turned
guy.
around, went straight to Lamar, gave him a hug and stuff. Like, he's a cool
But
guy.
we don't know what he said to Lamar.
Yeah.
Probably said that's my MVP.
bitch. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
A good season, but that one's mine. But yeah, he's such a good guy, man. You gotta love him.
Not yet.
Don't let dumb takes.
Ask me in the off season, and then I'll probably tell you I like him.
Not 2 days after.
Yeah, it's too.
I don't blame you.
Too raw right now.
I don't blame you. I was gonna have a comment. We're going into MLB, so I was gonna have this comment when you said you picked somebody because of the vibes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the vibes are out because that's what happened with the Mets and Dodgers. So we're moving on to the MLB, a little bit of free agency stuff. Unfortunately, on my sheet, at least currently, you're gonna do a lot of this talking.
Yeah,
unfortunately. But on my sheet right here, I got a lot of Dodgers.
Big spenders, those Dodgers.
Go ahead.
All right, so I don't remember. Did Roki sign before our last pod? I don't think he did.
He did not.
He did not sign. So
last spot, yeah.
we've had 4 big signings. We've had Roki Sasaki to the Dodgers.
And who 3 of them go to?
We've had Tanner Scott to the Dodgers. We've had
So great.
Anthony Santander to the Blue Jays. Good for Blue Jays. They finally got somebody. They lost out on literally everybody else, but they got Santander, which I do want to talk about that. And then finally, the last one is not a confirmed, I believe, yet, but it is very heavily rumored that Kirby Yates will also be going to the Dodgers. So I think we should start with Roki Sasaki because that's like the elephant in the room. That's the number one guy. That's the big signing. That's where all the drama is because Roki Sasaki was the number one sought after free agent. And Roki Sasaki is under 26 years old, so he's going to be on a rookie contract no matter what, which means anybody should, in theory, be able to sign Roki Sasaki. It's not a money issue. Yeah. But where does Roki Sasaki go? He goes to Los Angeles. So we could talk about the free agency and how it's going to help them, but I don't think that's what we want to talk about. The big issue is there are some MLB executives who are coming out, they're not saying who they are, and saying this was a done deal a year ago. That it was a done deal and there was a secret handshake or something or a secret confirmation that Roki Sasaki was going to the Dodgers. And the MLB may investigate it. I believe they did go check and they said they didn't find any wrongdoings. It may be an issue for the owners. They might say something. But how do you feel? I mean, it did feel like he was going to the Dodgers the entire time. Do you think there was any wrongdoing?
So I don't care if there was wrongdoing.
Okay.
I mean, first of all, the MLB's investigation is terrible. They didn't find anything.
Shohei didn't gamble, so we can stop that. And
okay. So real quick, time out. I'll actually go through the list here real quick. They didn't find anything in 2017 with the Houston Astros. They found very minimal in 2018 with the Boston Red Sox. They didn't find anything in the certain gambling issue with Shohei Ohtani. And they're not going to find anything here.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't think any of that matters because I don't think the secret handshake between Roki Sasaki and the Dodgers happened until the Dodgers got Shohei Ohtani.
Okay.
In my personal opinion, Roki Sasaki was going to go wherever Shohei Ohtani went. That's just, and here's a few reasons. Unfortunately, some teams didn't want to pony up the cash for Ohtani. He could have gone to the Mets and gotten full no deferrals, but whatever, because the Mets are about that no deferral life.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't think it matters. I think it's a comfort thing. Now, it did come out that Roki did want to go down the Shohei route, where he wanted to go to a smaller market and build up his hype.
Yeah.
It's all cap.
So I don't know if
there was the small route. There was he didn't want to play in the shadow of Yamamoto and Shohei, small market. And then all of a sudden, and that was another big issue. They were like, were those just lies he said to make it seem like he didn't make a deal?
To me, obviously, we all know the least amount of baseball watched at this table for sure. I think it was all a play. It was all a show, right?
Yeah.
I never once, and I think a lot of people never once thought he was going to Toronto, never once thought he was going to Padres, but he has, him and his agent are throwing out there. Some of us did. Okay, these are our final 4 teams. These are our final 2 teams. Yeah. I think it's, like you said, done deal, at least for a year. Everyone knew Roki was going to the Dodgers.
I think it's a comfortability thing. I think that you have familiar faces there.
Mm-hmm.
You'd argue that if you're going to go off comfortability thing, there's only a few select teams that he'd go to. He'd probably feel comfortable in New York with the Mets because he did know Senga.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't feel comfortable with the Padres because he wouldn't know Darvish all that well. Because he would have been.
He is a lot younger than Darvish, but I know Darvish is a huge.
Didn't he mentor him or something like that?
Yeah, so there is comfortability with Darvish, but I think it's more like mentorship comfortability, whereas Yamamoto and Sasaki are like 3 years apart. They're they've been playing together for years.
Yeah. And so I think, like I said, it's just a comfortability thing. Yeah. He feels comfortable in LA, whether it's a big market or not. And listen, you could argue that the Dodgers are going to be so damn good that there isn't that much pressure on him. He's going to be the 5th guy in their rotation. Now, whether he deserves to be there is another point. I don't think he is. I think if he pitches to his full potential, he should definitely be their ace. But you're not going to have a new guy come in at his
he's not going to take over that
and be the opening day star.
No.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, he was going to go anywhere Ohtani did. It's the most comfortable you can be. It's just kind of how it is right now in the MLB. Yeah, he gets to go for low amounts of money, which, in my opinion, is a little bit of BS because you should be able to capitalize on the hype that you've created for yourself.
Yeah.
And you should be able to demand the money you deserve. Because, God, I hope this isn't the case, because even though he is a Dodger, I like people to have success. If he goes out there and blows his UCL twice, or goes out there and isn't what they thought he was going to be, he's going to have to go back to Japan and then prove it again. And then teams are still going to be hesitant because he wasn't good the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've seen players be bad in the MLB, go figure something out in Japan or the Korean League, and then come back and be serviceable. But in this market, with the pitchers that have signed for the money that they've signed, you'd argue that Roki Sasaki would demand $30+ million a year.
Yeah, it is interesting that, I mean, he just has to wait 2 or 3 more years, and then he $300 million contract minimum,
100%
guaranteed. So it's interesting now that he signs early, he can't get a contract like that for 6 years. Instead of waiting 2 years to get $300 million, he has to wait because now he's on a rookie contract. So he has to go through the 6 years of control with the Dodgers. He's got to go through arbitration. So his last 3 years, he could make like a 1 year, $20 million contract. But if he just waited 2 years at 25, 26 years old, that's what Yamamoto did. Yamamoto waited till Yamamoto, Senga, and now they're getting 10-year, $300 million contracts. And that's 100% what was lining up for Sasaki. So it's very interesting that he did go early. But as a Dodgers fan, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
awesome.
the factor of just winning now and knowing that, hey, I'm going to go to the best team in baseball,
And
maybe that outweighs
with his star, with the icon.
Maybe that's what it is.
Of their country. Icon of baseball.
Yeah.
He's going to go there, not going to have all the pressure that if he went to anywhere else, he would have all that pressure on his shoulders, right?
He'd have to be an ace anywhere
He
else.
would have to.
Yeah.
But here, obviously, he's that 4th, 5th guy. No one's expecting you to go crazy. You're still young. No one's expecting you to go crazy because even if you do,
you're a prospect.
Go out there. Exactly.
Yeah.
You're still so young that you got time to develop. And I think it's just crazy that the Dodgers just keep getting anyone they want.
And on top of it, I know you want to talk about Sasaki, but the Dodgers bullpen, which proved to be elite in the playoffs last year, get another piece with arguably the best left-handed, certainly the best left-handed pitcher available out of the bullpen, probably the best left-handed pitcher in all of baseball out of their bullpen. They get Tanner Scott.
And it's a 4-year contract for Tanner Scott.
Which is very interesting for bullpen pieces. You normally don't see it, but when you get elite end bullpen guys like that, you're normally going to get. Now, I wonder if they're going to have Tanner Scott close games with that contract.
I mean, he would, though. Dave Roberts loves to not have a closer. Even when Evan Phillips was the closer, he was only getting like 25 saves. So there's a chance, Tanner Scott is the majority of the time. But the Dodgers are very big in, hey, you're pitching,
closers.
not even rotating closer. They're very big. What's the high leverage situation?
Yeah, that's what the Mets do too.
Tanner Scott becomes now probably their biggest high leverage guy, which then can push Evan Phillips into a little bit easier roles because he was kind of struggling a little bit last year. He figured it out towards the end. So you'll see Tanner Scott. He'll obviously get probably 20 saves, 25 saves if I had to guess. But the Dodgers love to rotate, and all that does is it gives them extra depth to be able to rotate their Evan Phillips, Brewster Gratterall, Blake Trinan, now Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates. I think that's it. I don't know. I can keep going on. And Kirby Yates is an interesting signing to me. Kirby Yates just came off a 1.1 ERA season, but he's like 37, 38. So how much more does he have in the tank? Can he replicate that?
Have to win 2 more World Series?
Probably not. But that's what Kirby Yates is doing. He knows he can go win a World Series. Now, he isn't officially signed yet, but it's
it's all but official.
He's going to go. Now, we can talk about these free agents and their impact. Obviously, there's a ton going on. What I want to ask to our casual baseball fan, do you believe this is ruining baseball? Do you think this is destroying it?
It's so tough. It's because I want to say it's in the middle ground. It's right in the middle, right? So it's on one hand, it's annoying and it's kind of boring just to see all these elite level free agents going to the Dodgers, and it's only the Dodgers. It's like, it's not being spread out, right? Obviously, you had Juan Soto go to the Mets, right? But other than that, it's been all Dodgers, right? And it's kind of like all the dominoes are falling into place for the Dodgers, and it's really frustrating on one hand. But on the other hand, why not? If you're these big time free agents, why not go to the team that you know you're gonna get money from? Because clearly they know how to work the contracts, and 2, you know you're gonna win, and you have 3, the potential to win a World Series.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I got to put it in a football mentality, if obviously I'm a Ravens fan, so if the Ravens are out here commanding all these big time free agents and just signing, fuck yeah, I love it. But on the other hand, if you're another person that's not a Ravens fan, it's obviously going to be annoying. So I think it's right in the middle of annoying and it's
yeah.
They just want to win, which I get. Players want to win championships, and realistically, if you're Tanner Scott, are you gonna go anywhere else and have a potential to win a championship? Not really, because not really.
Yeah, not really.
Because the place to be is LA. So
yeah, now, I like the comparison you use in NFL, and I'm going to use another NFL comparison because everybody's going to say it's ruining baseball. The Dodgers are too good. Dodgers are going to win the World Series. Well, in the NFL, week after week, the most watched game in the NFL is always whatever Chiefs game is, right? And people are watching the Chiefs. They're the best team in the NFL. They win all the time. It's so boring. They're going to win no matter what. But every week, everybody watches the Chiefs. Now, half of those people watching the Chiefs are probably watching, praying that the Chiefs lose.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen with the Dodgers. That's what's going to happen with the Dodgers. Brian's a Mets fan. Brian's going to be rooting for the Padres. Brian's going to be rooting for the Giants. Brian's going to be rooting for the Rockies.
I didn't even watch them.
Right? You even if you can't watch the game, you're going to check. Please tell me the Dodgers lost.
Yeah.
And then if you're a Dodgers fan, my goal is 117 wins. Set a record this year. Make this year historic, right? Don't sell yourself short.
My goal is to go 162-0. Why not?
Right? So every game, and Mookie said it last year. Mookie said last year, every game for the Dodgers is going to be the other team's World Series. That's like times 10 now. That's times 10. Every game against the Dodgers for the other team is going to be the World Series. If you're a Pirates fan and your Pirates suck, they're going to win 60 games, 70 games this year. If I'm a Pirates fan and the Dodgers come into town, I am watching every single Pirates-Dodgers game.
Yeah.
Because I'm either hoping they're going to win, and if they don't win, I'm still watching some of the best players in the league. So
almost all of them.
The whole batting order.
So I don't think, and people are going to complain, it ruins baseball, blah, 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 blah. I wrote on the notes, this has happened before in baseball, right? And not necessarily the deferred payments. That's something very new. We've seen deferred payments before, but that's normally when a guy becomes old and retires. This deferred payments is
Who does that?
Bobby Bonilla, just to name one. Right.
That's one.
The Yankees. The Yankees are the most obvious example. When they had George Steinbrenner, late 90s, what did they do? Every single free agent. That's when it started. And then they had some guys coming up, like the Jeters and Posadas. Early 2000s, there's a documentary about the Red Sox winning their World Series. Part of that documentary was in 2003 when the Yankees went and signed Gary Sheffield, Roger Clemens. They signed Jason Giambi the year before. They went out and signed every single big-name free agent. On the paper, in 2009, I wrote down they spent $500 million on a handful of free agents. And that's in 2009. They spent $500 million on a Mark Teixeira, CC Sabathia, to bring these guys in to do what?
Right? CC
Sabathia, congratulations, Hall of Famer as of today, right? To go and guess what? They won the World Series in 2009. Was everybody in 2009 saying, Yankees ruin baseball? No, they're just like, that's the Yankees. They're going to spend money. So this isn't going to ruin baseball. It's going to be a little bit of annoying for everybody else. It's good. I think it's good for baseball.
So I will say, and sorry for looking like I was on my phone because I was while you were talking, but I wanted to confirm something here. The only good news for baseball is, can you tell me, a little bit of trivia here, can you tell me how many of the World Series champions have been the top spending team in baseball? How many times has that happened?
Since when?
2000.
Top spending team?
Yeah, they have the
in free agency?
highest. They have the highest opening day payroll.
I don't know. I'm gonna go 4 times.
6.
You were the closest. It's happened 3 times.
3 times? That's about right.
3 times in 25 years or 24 seasons, I guess. So that's the thing you can hope for in baseball. Baseball is very. It seems like there's a lot of parity.
Yeah,
I mean, you're looking at these last 2 World
baseball
Series.
is the most, like, anything can happen. I know it's any given Sunday in football, but baseball is literally anything can happen. The best winning percentages in baseball are like not even 60% normally.
Yeah.
So it's
Except you wanted to win 117.
Well, yeah.
So
to go for the record.
this is not including the Dodgers
Okay.
the World Series in 2024. You have the Rangers 9th, Astros 10th, Braves 14th, Dodgers 2nd, Nationals 4th,
Mhm.
and then Red Sox 1st, Astros 17th. So you're even looking at the last few years. There's a whole lot of teens in there.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of firsts. There aren't any firsts.
So the trend is top half, but you don't have to be number
But you don't have to be number one.
Don't have to be number one. You obviously
Now-
got to bring guys in, but that doesn't guarantee anything.
I'd argue that the closest comparable team I guess you can think of when it comes to this Dodgers team compared to like another team that had an insanely high payroll and won the World Series is the Red Sox.
Mhm.
The Red Sox had a lot of dudes on that roster in 2018. A lot of really good players. I don't know, obviously not the scale of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting with this whole Dodgers thing. I'm not sure because what's success for the Dodgers now going down?
It's World Series. It's
Well,
World
so-
Series or bust, and
so that's what I'm
yeah.
saying is like we are looking at it right now before it really happens. It had just started. The Dodgers have just won their first World Series in this new era, which we'll call it the Ohtani era.
Okay.
Right. But what's success for the Dodgers? Because if they go these 10 years and win 3 World Series, which would be impressive, 3 World Series in 10 years, it's proven here. Not many teams win 3 World Series in 10 years.
Yeah.
Is that success when we're 10 years down the road? Or is it, how the hell did the Dodgers win 8 World Series?
Well, yeah.
So I'm curious on what success is for this Dodgers team and how much that's going to
no team has won
be a
back to
factor.
back in over 25 years. So obviously,
Yankees.
but I think they did it in the 90s. I think that's the last time. So 25 years, my guess.
Oh, no.
While he looks it up, I know the Yankees were the last team to do it, but I'm pretty sure they didn't do it since 98, 99,
98, 99, 2000.
3 in a row. Good for me.
Wow.
So that's the last time, not over 25 years, 25 years exactly.
Yeah.
But you get the point, right? It's been a long time since somebody went back to back. So obviously it's World Series or bust. It's just not a guarantee. Just not a guarantee.
It's not. I think the closest you can get to that between the Yankees and now is the Giants, where they went 2010,
Yes.
2012, 2014.
So the funny thing about those Giants World Series is in between those,
They were
the
terrible.
2011, 2013, they weren't making playoffs.
Nope. Wow.
Right? So the Dodgers have made playoffs every year since Dave Roberts got there. They've won the division almost every year. When the Giants were going crazy, they weren't good every single year. And that just shows you how hard it is to repeat. They win World Series, miss playoffs, World Series, miss playoffs. So it's very hard to be good back-to-back years. And the Dodgers are in a place where they have to be good back-to-back years. They have no choice. They have no choice or else they're a failure.
I think the only difficult thing for the Dodgers moving forward is the Dodgers are in the wrong league. In my opinion, they are
Because the
AL is significantly worse than the NL. I understand the AL always wins the All-Star.
I
game
don't care about
and
the
all
All-Star
that.
game, yeah.
But the NL is significantly better than the AL. It's just deeper.
Mhm.
The AL, you'd say your top tier teams are maybe the Astros. They lost Tuck, but probably still the Astros because they always produce, and the Yankees,
Who just lost Soto.
who just lost Soto.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put the Orioles in that conversation.
Orioles just lost Santander, and they haven't
exactly.
signed anybody.
Exactly. I wouldn't put
Royals.
the Royals or Guardians in that
Yeah.
in that conversation.
Tigers and
When you're talking about, well, they didn't even put Tarek Skubal first. So when you're looking at the AL or the NL, I'm sorry, even in their own division, you have a top 5 team in the MLB.
Yeah, Padres
Or
are
the
the
Padres.
Padres, yeah.
You have just competitive teams in the NL. You have the Dodgers,
Mhm.
the Padres, the Braves, the Phillies,
The Mets.
and the Mets. So that's 5 compared to 2. You can almost guarantee that 4 of those 5 teams will be in the postseason.
Yeah.
So instead of having to, arguably at all, you would have to go through legitimate top 5 teams in the MLB on one side, and the Yankees would have to go through like the Astros.
Yeah.
It's only one major series compared to the entire playoffs is critical for the Dodgers. It's going to be, I understand it's the playoffs. It's going to be tough no matter what, but it's not going to be a cakewalk for them. I mean, you'd argue that the Dodgers not necessarily got lucky, but you'd argue that the Dodgers may have lost a 7-game series against the Padres if they were worn down from a 5-game series with the Phillies. or the Mets or something like that, because the Mets did take them to 5.
Mhm.
You'd argue that the Phillies could take them to 4, and then they play the Padres in 7.
Yeah.
And that series was so tight.
That was the best series. Yeah. That
It
was
was
their only
unbelievable.
challenge. Yeah.
Right? Exactly. Well,
That was a really challenge.
careful.
That was a really challenge.
Careful.
That was a really
careful,
challenge.
Careful. Took you to 6.
Brett Honeywell pitched like 8 innings in one of those games.
He did pitch 8 innings.
I know. He did eat them, though.
He did. But so that's what I'm trying to get at is, personally for me as just a baseball fan, even though I hate the Dodgers, I think that you'd see it as successful dynasty if they win 3 or 4 World Series.
Yeah, I would. That's perfect. I would.
Now it doesn't match when you go with the payroll and all that, and it certainly probably won't match when you're looking 10 years down the line and they have so much dead money and luxury tax. It's going to be insane. Where they might not. It's going to be very interesting to see where the Dodgers sit in 2034, and how good they are. It'd be amazing if they're good. But
I would like my kids to see a good Dodger team.
It's a kick the can down the road. Unfortunately, at some point the road ends.
Yeah.
But while you're kicking it down the road, it's a lot of fun.
How far can you get?
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I know that you. Last thing I wanted to comment on is earlier you asked him if the Dodgers are ruining baseball.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I fear is the NBA saw a huge drop off when it was literally just the Warriors playing the Cavaliers every single year in the finals. They saw a huge viewership drop off.
Yeah. In
my opinion, the MLB can't afford to have a huge viewership drop off. The MLB is trending upwards in viewership. I don't know what this does for the MLB. On one hand, you're watching the best team ever assembled. On the other hand, you're watching the best team ever assembled. They're going to be boring. They're going to win. They're going to, it's just expected.
I'd argue that's not boring. I want to see.
Well, but that's also because it's your favorite team.
I know.
Because if the Padres came up with a super team, you'd be real. But you wouldn't want, but you'd be annoyed. Yeah. But so I don't know if the MLB can afford that, but I'm with Alex. If the MLB allows you to do this stuff, allows you to kick the can down the road with the furrows, allows you to get all this talent, allows you to do whatever, do it if you want to do it. Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way with the Mets. Steve Cohen's the richest owner in the MLB, and he throws money around.
Do it.
I certainly agree with that. If you're lucky enough to have an owner that's willing to, spend the money to make you good, you're lucky. Congratulations. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, do it.
It sucks for the non-fans of the Mets or the Dodgers, right? But that's just how baseball is now, right? You got money to spend. The free agents are gonna want to go to where the most money is, and the more free agents you get, the better you are as a team. Then the next year, you're gonna get more of the top free agents. It's kind of a cycle.
You know what my heart can't handle though, as we brought it up with football, my heart can't handle another Patriots Colts. Certainly with the fact that my Colts fandom is here, my Mets fandom is so high up here.
Yeah.
If the Mets quite literally make one World Series in the next 10 years, would make it to the CS all the time, get outraced by the Dodgers.
That'd be tough. Tough.
And I live in
I wouldn't be mad.
And I know it's getting late, but I want to ask Cody, who's obviously the Dodger fan, what, excluding not winning a World Series, what is a disappointment for you this year? What's a potential disappointment besides not winning a World Series? Because I don't think, even with all the signings the Dodgers have made and stuff, I still don't think it's a guaranteed World Series.
It's not. And what's gonna suck? It is. That is my disappointment, just not winning the World Series. And it's so stupid to say almost, because you're right, it's so hard to win a World Series. If they lose in the championship series, I'm going to be like, this was a failure.
Fire Dave Roberts.
How could you? I will never say that. Dave Roberts will always be unbelievable manager of my hearts. But that will happen with Dodger fans. Because if he loses in the championship series, it's going to be like, oh, Dave Roberts couldn't win with the greatest roster. It's going to be a failure if they don't win the World Series. If they make it to the World Series, I'm happy. I'll obviously be sad if they lose. I was sad when they lost to the Astros. I was sad when they lost to the Red Sox. But the team is too good. There's too much depth. If they lose anything beforehand, it's going to be like, how? How are we losing? In 2023, they just got boat raced in the playoffs and just killed by the Padres. And that was the most depressing thing. And all they've done since 2023 is gotten 5 times better. So it's for me as a Dodger fan, and it's World Series or bust. That's how you have to view it. We're not in a position where I hope we can win the division. You're not in a position where let's see if we can make a sneaky playoff run. You have put yourself in a position where you have to win the World Series. And so anything below that's a failure.
It also benefits that your division isn't exactly deep. I'd argue that
No, Diamondbacks gotten better.
they have, but I don't.
Padres are obviously really good.
Division's deep in my eyes. I know you could say they're not deep. Diamondbacks were in the World Series 2023. They've signed Corbin Burns. They've gotten better. Padres have shown they have players. They may have lost a couple guys, but they have a bunch of prospects coming up. Giants are always just a team that sticks around and hangs around.
And the Rockies are the
And
Rockies.
the Rockies suck. That's the only. I'll give you the Rockies are just a garbage fire.
I think the Diamondbacks are going to get the short end of the stick in this entire thing because you have two unbelievable teams.
In your division.
Diamondbacks are just that mid-tier team.
Yeah, well, that's what they showed up as last year. Was a mid-tier team.
I think that's going to continue. Because it's not comparable to the other division where you have 3 top-tier teams with the Braves, the Phillies, and the Mets, and then there is no mid-tier team. It's just 3.
And even when they got to the World Series, they were like an 84, 85 win team. They weren't anything crazy. They just got in the right situation, caught fire at the right time.
Yeah, and in the East, you have 3 top-tier teams, and then arguably the 2 worst teams.
Yeah.
So I think that it has to be win division. The Padres are going to put up a fight, but it has to be win division and
win division almost.
It has to be win it all.
So much, it's win it all. If they don't win the division,
I mean, what's their Vegas odds to win the division? It's got to be negative.
To win the division?
It's got to be in the negative.
Their win total is
minus 5,000.
Their win total prop is like 103 wins, which is absurd for baseball.
Smash the over.
What's the Mariners record?
116.
So 117 or bust.
That's what. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see 117 wins.
So no World Series.
Now, if they got the record but didn't win the World Series, still gonna be upset.
Doesn't matter.
Failure.
It doesn't matter.
Failure.
It doesn't matter. You only play all those. It's like a Boston Bruins. 2 years ago, they were the best regular season team in the history of the NHL, and they lost in the first round of the playoffs. And nobody gives a fuck.
Damn.
The team before that, that they broke the record, was the best in the regular season, and then won the cup.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody heralded them as the best team ever. Nobody heralds that Boston Bruins team as the best team ever because you didn't win the cup. So who cares?
That's fair.
Well, although to be fair, also different. Mariners never even been to a World Series, but they hold the most wins. So baseball might be a little different, but all right.
It is.
That's it.
I think that's everything for us.
We covered a lot today, guys. We covered a lot. It was an interesting day. Unfortunately, we had a lot of Dodgers talk.
Like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I could talk about the Dodgers for an hour. I used to do a whole podcast just myself.
Dodgers special.
Just myself.
We're actually Cody's going to release. Cody's going to
day.
have a different channel. It's just going to be him sitting in my living room talking.
You beat me to it. I'm going to show up to Brian's house. Say, hey, don't worry about it. I got the camera, and I'm just going to talk for an hour straight about the Dodgers.
And so we talked about it a lot. We talked some football, some sad football. Ravens lost. We have 3 more football games left. And then our show is going to get real interesting. I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about because free agency normally dies down with the MLB and football ends. And
okay, we're gonna put
draft
AJ through a table.
We're gonna talk about drafts. We're gonna talk about combine.
We're gonna
put AJ through a table or something.
Baseball will start up, so I'll be able to talk. I'll be able to get my baseball talk.
We get second half Premier League's coming up.
Nobody cares about that.
I care about it.
Well, so do I. Half the time when Chelsea decides to show up, but that'll be it. We'll
figure it out.
We'll figure it out. All right, guys. Thank you for watching us today. Please like and subscribe and let us know who you think is going to win these championship games in the NFL. Let us know if you think it's World Series a bust for the Dodgers, and let us know if you think that the Dodgers are ruining baseball.
And comment if you know where my jersey's from. That's what I care about.
That'll be it, guys. Thank you for watching.